A programming note, we had planned to bring you the 2025 Dixie National Sale of Junior Champions as our main feature this week. But because of a last-minute technical issue caused by the recent severe weather in Mississippi, we now plan to bring you that story next week. Instead, we apologize for the delay. In its place, though, a compelling story, Academy at the Farm, which we move forward from next week to this week's show. You might think of the Academy as a vocational agriculture class with a lot of after-hours work to get everything done. But there is a lot more to the story than that, not the least of which is how popular Academy at the Farm in Florida has become. At this point, there's a waiting list almost 4 times as long as the total number of active students. A sure sign that interest in small farming is growing. Here's Colleen Bradford-Krantz with more.
Instead of heading to a sports field or music room after school, many students at Academy at the Farm near Dade City, Florida, spend their afternoons caring for nearly 100 farm animals. The pre-K through 8th grade public charter school integrates agriculture into its science curriculum from an unusually early age. Elementary students participate in monthly lessons, and there's an option for daily agriculture classes starting in 6th grade.
A lot of kids automatically have the idea that agriculture is just playing with animals all day or feeding animals or having pets or something like that. And we want them to expand their horizons and have the knowledge that agriculture is actually giving us life. So it's providing us with food, it's providing us with resources and commodities that we need. And our goal is that by the time they leave our school, they go into the world as more informed consumers so that they are able to then inform other consumers.
Opened 23 years ago, officials say the school was already performing well academically before expanding its agricultural focus a decade ago. As of 2024, it had again earned Florida's A school designation, landing in the top 12% of the state's public schools. The school, located 40 miles northeast of Tampa, has 825 students and a waiting list of over 3,000. With that kind of interest, Academy at the Farm has decided to open a high school next year.
When I came here 10 years ago, academics and high expectations were the things that were drawing kids. Today, there are people that absolutely want to come to our school because of our agriculture program.
Newly retired school director Ray Polk, who was raised nearby on what was then a 6,000-acre cattle ranch, laments the decline of local agriculture as urban sprawl replaces livestock and citrus groves.
Tampa's moving our way, and it's coming 4,000 homes at a time. I felt like kids needed to know where their food comes from. Less and less kids are educated with that. And I found that kids thought that, their hamburger came from McDonald's.
Polk says they have always had high expectations related to behavior, and the agricultural component has played directly into that.
It's an interesting phenomena to me when you can take kids that are struggling or having trouble, and you can take them over to the barn for 15 minutes and it can change their whole day. You can go hand them a baby goat and their life changes. It's almost like magic.
The after-school agriculture program is self-sustaining through fundraising and agricultural product sales. Despite the focus on agriculture, the school still prioritizes core academics.
The state doesn't test whether the kids know how a pig has piglets. What they test on is their math, reading, and writing.
Polk credits the agriculture program's success to the wife and husband teaching team of Robin and Tim Carter.
Drinking this fancy juice, you have to do it with your pinky up, okay?
Robin, who previously taught in one of the grade school classrooms, developed the curriculum after building a highly successful after-school 4-H club, while Tim, a former PE teacher, now manages the barns.
I integrate a lot of the Florida science standards into the elementary agriculture lessons that I do. So that's how I try to support the elementary school teachers. I talk a lot about what it means to be a scientist. I talk a lot about what it means to research something and not just believe everything you hear, but to actually go to a good source to get your information from.
Students also have the option to care for animals on the school grounds, many of them preparing to show at fairs, events which boost parental interest and community support.
They see how our kids work together at the county and state fair, and they love the camaraderie and teamwork they show to each other.
Agriculture is also used as a way to teach resilience, as the school allows the students to directly face hardships when they arise.
In education, sometimes the expectations is everything is done perfect all the time. And in agriculture, that's not how life goes. You could have a project or a crop or an animal that suddenly passes away or suddenly dies, or there's a hurricane or something happens, and you have to be able to roll with the punches.
Families whose children want to show market animals through 4-H or FFA typically buy their animals and cover most costs associated with raising them on site. Other students can be assigned to care for a non-market animal, such as a dairy cow or a hen, for a year. Grants and donations have enabled the Academy to expand the outdoor facilities.
After school, if you have an animal here, it's got to be fed, it's got to be taken care of, and on the weekends. They're responsible for feeding and any changes, and we work on showmanship practice and get ready for fairs and shows. Most of the kids that we get, we're very lucky, they don't grumble about the work at all. And these projects are also family projects. You know, a 10-year-old can't drive themselves here on a Saturday to feed their animal.
17-year-old Christiana Williams, a former student, still keeps pigs on site and helps younger children with their livestock projects.
So the really nice thing about this is everything is hands-on. When I first started, I told the carters that I would never, ever give a vaccination to a pig. It freaked me out. I didn't like needles. I didn't like anything like that. Flash forward a couple months later, I was giving almost all of the injections at the barn.
11-year-old Connor Groover sees the program as life preparation.
Having to stay responsible to feed them, and like being responsible with my money, having to pay for their foods and their all their equipment stuff.
We need to create students who are feeling confident at an early age to be outside, getting their hands dirty, being hands-on. If I can get a kid to pick up a drill at home instead of a cell phone at home, that makes me really, really happy. And middle school kids are at an age where I feel like they're not given a lot of trust. So when you give them that trust, they just shine.
Pretty amazing. They're getting some great results down there in Florida.